Mike Williamson is set to be appointed as the new Carlisle United head coach for a compensation fee of around £200,000 from fellow League 2 side MK Dons. And in today's video, I'm going to be breaking this move down, the potential style of play that Carlisle could be playing, and if their squad at this moment in time actually suits the Mike Williams football. It doesn't. Now, obviously, the Blues party company with Paul Simpson a couple of weeks ago, they've had an interim caretaker manager in charge who I think was maybe their academy manager, something like that, but they've lost every single game, only by a 1-goal margin, and they've been trying to play a new style of football. Obviously, they're very direct under Paul Simpson. Under the new caretaker manager, they were trying to play much more possession-based football, and it ended up costing them a goal against Bradford City really early on in that game. Harry Lewis played the ball into John Mellish. He really struggled to play out from the back. I'm not too sure he's a centre back in a back four, in all honesty. Jamie Walker presses him, squares it to Andy Cook, and he opened the scoring after just 2 minutes. But this morning it was first reported by Alan Nixon. Obviously he does a lot of his stuff behind a paywall, but he did do a tweet saying Williamson shock target for Carlisle, and obviously you can check out his article and stuff online. And then it was backed up by John Coleman, who for the Bradford fans is like the Simon Parker equivalent of Carlisle United, about 10:30, 20:10, something like that. He said, saying, as reported elsewhere this morning, Alan Nixon, MK Dons boss Mike Williamson has emerged as the man in the frame to be Carlisle United's new head coach, and Carlisle are yet to make a comment on this move. I'll have a quick read over his article, and he says the former Gateshead chief is said to be in the frame to become Paul Simpson's successor at Brunton Park. Carlisle expect to confirm their new head coach and sporting director soon. Reports this morning from national journalist Alan Nixon have pointed to a move for Williamson, who has been in charge of League 2 side MK Dons since last October. The News and Star also understands the ex-Newcastle United defender is now a leading candidate for the role. Obviously, Williamson did a very good job with Gateshead. He got his move to MK Dons last season. They finished 4th in the table, had a lot of talent in their squad, lost out on the playoffs. I think they lost 8-1 on aggregate in the semi-final to Crawley, who eventually went on and got promoted into League 1. Then they lost their best player in Max Dean, and they've had quite a large rebuild, to be fair, have MK Dons. So it was always going to take time for them to turn things around. They have had a pretty poor start to the season. Obviously, they were 2-0 down inside 5 minutes on the opening day, and they haven't really recovered too well since that moment. They sit 20th in the table as of right now. They've only won 2 of their first 6 matches. They're so inconsistent. They've only scored 5 goals as well all season, conceded the 8. It's not been a great start to the season whatsoever for Mike Williams' side. Obviously, they lost 3-0 in the derby away at AFC Wimbledon the other day as well. Watched that game, and they're so frustrating for MK Dons because they just never like scoring. The stubbornness that Mike Williamson has, I think it was going to cost him his job at MK Dons, but it now seems like he's going to get a £200,000 move to another League 2 club. I think it's a really, really strange move. Before we do go any further though with today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could try and hit 80 likes on today's video, that'd be massively appreciated. And don't forget as well to subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are on the road to 300 subscribers. Get your thoughts down in the comment section down below. Carlisle fans, MK Dons fans, and football fans in general, let me know down below, do you think this will be a move that will work out for all parties? And I think after not just the loss at the weekend against their main rivals, it was the manner of the loss. There was a lot of frustration building around Mike Williamson's future, and we saw properly for the first time a lot of people on social media saying they wanted Mike Williamson out, obviously being MK Dons fans, and I guess the emotions are always going to be heightened right after the full-time whistle, but even now I was still seeing it on my timeline as of yesterday, MK Dons fans wanting change, and to see a manager you potentially want out of your club but go to a fellow League 2 potential promotion rival. Obviously MK Dons and Carlisle currently sat in the bottom 5, but you don't expect them to be in and around it come the end of the season. So I just think it's so strange about Carlisle that they've gone in one direction with Paul Simpson. Yes, I know he was already there before the Pyrtex took over, to now a completely contrasting side of play into Mike Williamson, and I don't really think this Carlisle squad can play Mike Williamson football. Now, Mike Williamson likes to wear the back 3, the box in midfield, and have the wing backs, but some of Carlisle's better players don't fit into this system. The likes of Jordan Jones, a natural winger, where is he going to play in a formation like this? You've also got Dom Sadie as well on loan from Bournemouth, another winger, traditionally plays on the right side, but 2 of your better players are more wingers. Can they play as number 10s? Potentially, but it is a completely different role, and I think the big thing for me is Mike Williamson doesn't have a Liam Kelly profile midfielder at Carlisle United. The more holding midfielders there, the likes of Josh Vella, he absolutely not. John Mellish Absolutely not. The worst one of all, Harrison Neal, he's a ball-winning midfielder. He's terrible on the ball. Like what I say, Carlisle were trying to play this possession-based tippy-tappy football when they came to Bradford City a couple of weeks ago, and they had a midfield of Neal and Vela, and they looked absolutely awful at it. They were constantly giving the ball away. Even defensively, if they're going to look to play out from the back, have they got any centre-backs that can really play? Again, if you play John Mellish there, he can't do it. Sam Lavelle wouldn't be convinced with. Terrell Thomas quite injury-prone, and I don't think he'd be amazing at it. Aaron Hayden, very injury-prone, and he might be okay at it. Ben Barclay, absolutely not for me. Cameron Harper, I think, would be able to. Maybe even Archie Davies as well. Ethan Robson, if he's fit and available, but again, he's going to be out quite long-term. Harrison Biggins, I think, would be okay. Dylan McGeoch is probably the best player to suit this system in terms of a possession-based style, but there's not enough players in here to make things work, especially when you factor in the lack of a pressing striker. You know, Luke Armstrong, more of a target man. Georgie Kelly spends more time in the physio room than he does on the football pitch, and when he does, again, a target man. Charlie Wyke, the exact same thing. He hasn't got a Callum Hendry, a Max Dean sort of profile. I just don't think this squad will suit Williamson at all, and Carlisle will not be successful this season under Mike Williamson because the squad simply isn't there for him. And a big problem as well is Carlisle were giving out these long-term contracts under Paul Simpson, so now they've got these players tied down for a long time who are not going to suit this new manager style of play, and again, that's a big problem. It's going to cost you a lot of money to completely change this squad, and is Mike Williamson really worth doing that for? The likes of Georgie Kelly, he's here until 2027. He's still got just less than 3 years left on his contract. Luke Armstrong is in the exact same position. John Mellish is also in the exact same position, and then you look at the likes of Terrell Thomas, he's got 2 more years left, obviously only just signed in the summer, same as Aaron Hayden as well. There's a fair few players out of a deal this summer, the likes of Josh Vela, Sam Lavelle, Ben Barclay, even someone like a Jack Ellis, Anton Dudek. You know, there is a fair few players who they could maybe move on, but this is like next summer. We've had the transfer window now. It's a really strange move. For Williamson's career, I would say it's a sideways move because MK Dons, I think, are going to progress up the leagues much quicker than Carlisle because they've already got the infrastructure in there. They've been doing it for a number of years. Carlisle have only really been doing it since January, or more potently this summer that's just gone by. MK Dons have got that foundation, and it might not be working for them at the moment, but if it's not going to work at MK Dons, why is it suddenly going to work at Carlisle? Sometimes managers don't fit certain profiles of clubs. Certain clubs want certain styles of play, and it just simply doesn't work out. The likes of Graham Alexander at MK Dons didn't work out. They're a possession-based side, and Alexander's football isn't that, and it didn't work, and he was sacked after 8-10 games, something like that. Mark Hughes at Bradford City, very much possession-based, playing out from the back. We made a lot of mistakes, conceded a lot of goals by doing so because it's League 2, and you are going to make a lot of mistakes by doing that. And yes, he got us to a playoff semi-final, but it was also a big reason as to why we didn't go on and win that with that Banks for Platt substitution, which still now absolutely kills me. I just don't see, out of all the managers who were available, why Carlisle would go for Mike Williamson. Maybe if he was unemployed, but to pay £200,000 in compensation, which is the rumour at the moment, for Mike Williamson, I think is a strange move. Obviously, to the Piatex, it's probably just a bit of loose change, but when you think about the long term, it might work, but especially in the short term, you're not going to be successful this season trying to play tippy-tappy football. I don't really believe in a tippy-tappy football at this level. I think it's very hard to execute unless you have the best squad in the division, which I think MK Dons probably do. They have one of, I'd say, minimum top 3 squads in the division in terms of what Williamson was trying to play. In terms of this Carlisle squad, it's miles off it. Like I say, I just don't see how he can be unsuccessful at MK Dons and then come to Carlisle and suddenly be successful when the squad, compared to the style of play he wants to play, is absolutely miles off it. The MK Dons squad is almost perfect for what Williamson wants to do. Compared to this Carlisle squad, it's nowhere near it. This Carlisle squad suits more longer football. Especially, to be fair, Carlisle have got a big pitch at home, so that could certainly work for them, but so do MK Dons, and even they haven't been amazing at home so far this season. I think their only 2 wins so far have been at home to Walsall and Carlisle, so they struggle away from home, but Williamson doesn't want to adapt to playing away from home. Like we saw him against Salford, they were 1-0 down, 5 minutes to go, they're still trying to play out from the back. Sometimes you've just got to go along to the big lad. They had Ellis Harrison and he barely gets a look in, and when they do, they're trying to play into his feet. Sometimes you just have to go along. I look at the striker options for Carlisle and I don't see enough of a link-up type of striker. Wyke is okay, but again, he's much better when he's in a physical battle when the ball's near his head. I just don't see this working, in my personal opinion. I don't think Williamson will work out. Yes, it's a long-term project, but Carlisle are looking for more shorter-term success. They've got everything right off the field at the moment, but on the field, they've massively struggled so far this season, and I think they needed someone just to kind of stabilise the ship. And if they were going to get Williamson in, why not just go and do it in the summer? Why did you wait until the transfer window had closed to sack Simpson and then get Williamson in when the squad completely does not suit a Williamson style of play? It's baffling, and I think that's why probably they're getting a sporting director in, to be fair, because they kind of want to go down one route, then they're quickly changing and going down another. It's a big contrast to having football, and I guess the Piatek's are fairly new to it, and they are going to make mistakes, obviously, so I think a sporting director is good news. Appointing Mike Williamson, though, I'm not so sure.